Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to Inspirate Business, the show that's here to inspire you, to empower you, and to enlighten you. And each week we have someone very, very special, someone who we handpick, who is doing a special work in their domain, and whatever that may be. Now, a couple of years ago, I embarked on something outside of my comfort zone. I went and did the Otter Trail. And on the Otter Trail, you meet people that you don't ordinarily meet, and you connect. It's almost a soul level you connect. And I connected with a gentleman, Muhammad Karwa. And through that journey, we become very good friends. And he's shared with me what he's been doing. And he's married to a wonderful woman who we subsequently went on another trip with. And she had given us the most delicious meals served to us on a hike doing the whale trail. Welcome to the Inspirate Business Show, none other than Mashuda Casmod. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Now, Mashuda, I know you're doing some amazing work. You involved in a business, which we're going to talk a lot about. Something very interesting. You involved in a brand called Hastens.
Correct.
Hastens. It's a Swedish brand, and they specialize in sleep, in mattresses of a luxury nature. Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, my own journey with Hastings was it was an interesting one because I myself was an insomniac. And in 2009, it kind of reached a point where I was not coping at all and I needed to find some solution. So I did some research as to, what makes a good bed, what should one be looking for. And coincidentally, I stumbled across Hastings. And I mean, how they were making the beds was totally different to anything I had seen. And the materials that were being used and the methodology in terms of crafting the beds. So I actually contacted the head office, booked a trip out to Sweden, and said, okay, I'm really curious. I would like to know. I wanted to be able to import and have my own Hastings bed. And I went there. I got to sleep on a Hastings bed in a hotel. And for 3 days, they took me through their factory. And that was where I got to see the passion and the care with which the products were made. I mean, there's 3 generation families working in their factory. And as they say, that was where I kind of made a decision and became their official partner here for South Africa to hold the license and distribute the beds within Cape Town and Johannesburg. And that's how we started the business.
Wow, what a story. I mean, this is 2009, right?
Yeah,
And this is based on your own, something that sparked you.
yes.
You've been an insomniac. Now, we're going to talk a lot about Hastings. I know it's a rich history.
Yes.
It started, I think, in the 1800s. And
Yeah.
I mean, the way they manufacture, as you said, the methodology. And I know they started as saddle manufacturers and then got into horse tail. Is that how they made the beds and then got into industries? But we'll talk a lot about that. But Mashuda,
Yes.
right? Mashuda, and you said you operate from Cape Town and Johannesburg. I know you live in Cape Town on the Atlantic seaboard.
Yes.
Very fortunate you are. I think most people want to semigrate to Cape Town right now. But how did you, where did Mashuda, where did the journey start? Where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I mean, personally, I grew up here in Johannesburg, specifically in Lenasia.
Okay.
I went to high school there.
Which school did you go to?
Lenasia Secondary School.
Okay, so you're a Lens girl. Yeah.
Yes, I'm a born and bred Lens girl.
Okay.
And I went to university here at Wits and I studied quantity surveying, incidentally. Very male dominated sort of profession, but I think it was the creative in me or the artistic side of me that needed to be explored and expressed. And that's what I chose. And I've always had this deep fascination for architecture, art, buildings, and structures in particular. So I think it was a natural progression when I look at it to have chosen quantity surveying, and also inspiration from a family member who had already been working as a quantity surveyor kind of gave me an insight into what it entailed.
And what year were you at WITS?
Between the years of 92 to 96.
So that was that transition, South Africa's
Yes,
transition.
yeah.
So it was a hotbed. I know I was there from 90 to 95, so
Yeah.
I know that period, right? It was quite volatile as well.
It was, but I had a mission, and that mission was to be educated. I'm one of the first few females in my family. If you think of 92 at that time, to have got to go to university. So for me, it was really an opportunity, and I did not get involved in anything of a political nature. So while there might have been things happening around me, I chose not to involve myself, particularly in that.
And I know a few friends that have done QS. We had a guest here as well, Yusuf Patel,
Yes,
who was
yeah,
the
Joe.
MSA at the time.
Yes, yes, yes.
He was. I mean, I know he did QS with Yusuf Hafiji. There was few guys that did it.
Yes.
And I know QS, you don't have time for anything else because it's such an intense course.
Yeah, it is an intense course because there's a component of theoretical, practical work as well, and it's a lot of courses that are done in per year. So there is a fair amount of commitment and dedication that's needed with anything else, I'm sure, with other degrees as well. But
So you now graduate and you don't end up practicing as a QS, or do
No,
you?
I do. I did
Okay.
practice as a QS for a number of years. I entered a corporate company here in Midrand called Lachmia Daya Mandindi. They were a non-white practice, and it was the stage, as we know, the governmentals were changing, policies were changing, and they were getting a lot more of the sort of public works projects. And I landed up working on some of their public works projects here in Midrand, Johannesburg, and even Ivory Park. And I got to meet our then President Nelson Mandela at that stage.
Oh wow! So you did some of the big government projects
Not
at the
very
time.
big ones. Some of mine were more schools and sort of public projects. So not of a very big nature, but more schools, medical, those sort of
Okay,
projects.
so this was, of course, that vibrant time. Madiba was the president. You're now working in the new South Africa, and there's these nice projects that are coming about. Madiba being very focused around social projects, and you involved in that. Now, what then? I mean, right now you, of course, run a very successful business.
Yeah.
There's been Hastings. And how did you now pivot into that from being a QS?
Being an entrepreneur, you get to see one side of things. But my own journey prior to even going to university was I did actually operate as a small entrepreneur at that point in time. I had a sort of kiosk at the railway station near there in Indonesia, and I sold running shoes.
Oh, wow.
On my Saturdays in order to be able to just have a little bit of extra pocket money. Money for university and campus. So I was already an entrepreneur simultaneously while being a high school student, while being a university student. And having come from a large family that were entrepreneurs, I always had opportunity from the age of 7 years old. I can recall working in sort of family allied businesses. So, our parents pushed us that way.
No, excellent. I mean, and I find this quite amazing. And we've now on, like, I think about the 34th guest that you are. And so proud to have you on here because we haven't had many females. So you probably want to, I think maybe the fourth or something that's on the 34. But the fact that I find that the successful entrepreneurs have all had a youth which entrepreneurship was reared at a very young age. Like you said, now you at the railways,
Yeah.
at the station, and if you all know Lens, we know that station. We know it now on a Saturday morning how busy it is.
It is, yes.
Obviously, the dynamics and demographics have changed,
Change, yeah.
but still, I mean, to be there as a female, but this was in the 80s, in that volatile period as
Yeah,
well, and
late
for you, that's
80s.
courageous.
Yes, it's I was lucky to have my father's guidance, as well as he guided me and he came with me to help set up my stand, to oversee, to see that I was safe, and to teach me the skills that I needed. In some way, although we take up the lessons as youngsters as we see fit, not necessarily as they are delivered to us.
Yes. And we'll talk about those lessons. And I mean, there must be so many more, so many lessons that you can share with us. We've already come to the end of this first segment, talking to Mashuda Casmod and listening to her very intriguing journey, getting into one of the leading sleep mattress brands in the world, Hastings. Catch you after the break. Welcome back to Inspirate Business, where we have on our red hot couch, sponsored by Asia Collective, looking very dapper, very smart, blending in so nicely with the colors. We have none other than Mashuda Casmod. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a connection through Mashuda's husband, Mohammed, who I have developed a very good soul connection with. You know, they say certain people you just meet and then you just develop a soul connection. Maybe the two of us talk so much, so maybe that's it. But Mashuda's been sharing her journey, and it's been an intriguing journey. And we want to understand, you mentioned something. This Hastings brand, I know it is a phenomenal business. Well, I think 6 generations from the 1800s.
1852.
It started with making saddles and all about craftsmanship, and then also transcending into this industrialization. So started with handcrafting and then eventually industrializing the business. But you said what triggered you into this was you were an insomniac yourself, right? So obviously trying to find a solution, and this is how Allah guides you into
Yes.
this. Now, obviously, when you dig a little bit deeper in insomnia, there are probably a lot of challenges that we all go through. And I mean, we all have just come out of COVID, and it's been hectic. It's challenging financially for people, health wise, emotionally. Now, when you go through challenges, then maybe past issues come up, and
Yes, so I mean, the insomnia was just the tip of the iceberg, that all was not well, and that I needed to take greater stock of my own life. And with that, discovering that, okay, now that I've found a product that can potentially assist me to sleep better, have better quality sleep, and longer sleep, because that's what I was in, chronic sleep deprivation. So I'd come across the product called Hastings, and I was able to then attend to that aspect of my life. But it wasn't just about attending to one aspect. It was about looking holistically. How am I living? What is my diet like? What is my fitness like? Also about conscious eating. So, and then also I had a chance visit with a practitioner, and she's a Muslim lady up in Cape Town who's a kinesiologist that I visited and consulted. And through some holistic therapy with her, I uncovered and learned so many aspects about myself that were not in alignment, and that, for want of a better word, needed more integration in order for encompassing the spiritual, the emotional, and the physical alignment for a more holistic approach to how I was living my life.
Wow, that's so powerful, where you say, and I think this is the prophetic principles, where I think what the Prophet came to us, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is that alignment, that physical, spiritual, and emotional alignment.
It needs to be there for the whole to be, for want of using a word, for the whole to be expressed fully, for you to be the person you are meant to be, actually, because if one of those aspects are out of alignment, then there is already some sort of imbalance.
And the truth is, with the world we live in, which is such a mechanistic, such a hard world that we live in, those aspects, it's become so material that I think that soul has been void of it. And shukran that we have got the keys to connect with the soul through our beautiful deen, through our beautiful
Exactly.
Islam, that we can connect to our creator, and we have that soul connection, because without that is where you have a broken society.
Exactly. I mean, even with regards to going into sleep, we know that there's the practice of, Kailula, taking an afternoon nap, which is 20 minutes of refreshing and revitalizing yourself. So even within our own deen, we have the practice of being able to take some rest and wind down for giving you a better energy for the rest of the day.
And I was reading something. I mean, they were saying that actually one of the biggest diseases in the world, if you may call it outer diseases, is sleep deprivation. People
is.
are just not getting quality sleep.
Yeah, I mean, with the rise of technology and the plethora of devices that we have available to us at any one time, there alone lies some of the problem, because the blue light itself from cell phone devices that are emitted, it has the ability to uh, prevent us from falling asleep, because it raises levels. Melatonin normally gets produced, when it's closer to our sleeping time, and that's what helps us fall asleep at night. So when you're using the device, the blue light that's emitted hinders that process, and that takes you longer to fall asleep, and you don't have the quality sleep that you are meant to have. It's not just about having 8 hours of sleep. It's about
Because that's what they say is that you must have the 8 hours sleep.
you can have 6 hours of sleep, because we don't sleep in a flat cycle. We sleep in 90-minute cycles. So we go from basically a light sleep into a deeper sleep. And then we've heard of rapid eye movement. So those are the stages of sleep. So when one goes into those sleep cycles, you need to be able to go into those sleep cycles and get the rest that you need, because the important things that happens when we sleep is our cerebrospinal fluid is flushed through our brain, and that's where knowledge and information is then made sense of, where learning that you've done during the day gets assimilated and remembered. And if that process is interrupted by an uncomfortable bread, or by being too hot or not at the right temperature, so you're having a fractured sleep, which doesn't bode well then for your overall rest, basically, at the end of
And
that
then
cycle.
you ask yourself, you get up in the morning,
you don't
then
feel refreshed.
then you're miserable.
Yeah.
Then you arguing with your spouse or with your kids, and then you're attracting. Now you're not in the right state, so you then attract negativity in your day.
Exactly.
And then it just becomes a negative spiral.
Yeah,
right?
because
then what people do is they camouflage it by consuming a lot of caffeine to lift them up, right?
Yeah, the sleep is meant to prime you for the next day ahead. So if the sleep is not of a quality nature, then your next day is not going to be of a perfect quality nature. So you're going to be either consuming, as you say, stimulants, or trying to, could be falling asleep in a meeting. You have that mid-afternoon slump. And then also the food that you're eating that goes with it, getting the right nutrient mix, getting the right exercise. It's all complementary to having a good lifestyle.
But now one may ask, I mean, listen, if somebody out there say, listen, the reason I don't get good sleep is I've got too many worries. I've got too many concerns. I mean, that's a practical reason, right? I can't sleep. I've just got too many challenges. and
So I
it's
can,
difficult, you know.
yeah, I can
Yeah.
talk to that itself because personally, I mean, with unraveling some of my own challenges in life, which came from a basis of some of it from childhood. I lost my mother when I was 5 years old. So initially, there was some trauma and, challenge within that itself.
Mm.
And I only got to realize some of this in my adulthood, and I now had to diffuse that so-called trauma in a number of ways. And by using holistic methodologies like breath work, we can all reduce the stress and tension. We all carry stress and tension in some way, whether it's financial, emotional, relationship with children, in-laws, whatever it may be. What is your self-care practice? What is your self-care
Mm.
practice? Some people do meditation, some people sit in silence, connect to themselves. What sort of modality you might be using? I use personally breath work. It's a very conscious method of bringing back centeredness, feelings of worthiness, whatever it may be. So that's a modality I found that works for me and allows me to drop easier into relaxation. It also, breath work by its very nature, raises theta levels,
Mm.
and that helps aid sleep.
Yeah, the theta level is the deepest state of sleep, right?
Yeah,
Where
it's
you're getting.
almost like a meditative
Yes,
sleep.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So that theta levels are raised by breath work and just doing 10 minutes of sort of deep connected breathing
Mhm.
and can help drop you into a relaxation state and prime you for better sleep.
As you're speaking, I'm thinking that, 1400 years ago, our beloved Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam came and showed us a way to live, and how importantly he put the aspect of sleep. You spoke about how he would sleep in that midday. Then also even the way to sleep.
Yes.
He gave techniques of how to sleep.
Yeah.
Like you try not to sleep on your left hand side because that's where your heart is, and there's a certain way of sleeping. I mean, today you're hearing of try not to sleep on your back.
Yeah, ideally, a preferred sleeping position, given that your bed is right, because often we compensate in terms of the position we sleep in because our bed is either maybe too firm or not comfortable enough. So, when you have the right balance of bed, then it's ideal to sleep.
Okay, I want to, talking about beds. This is, I think, the ideal time after the break where I want to talk about the beds and the different types of mattresses and what is Hastings to offer immediately after the break. Welcome back to Inspirate Business, where we're here to inspire you, to empower you, and to enlighten you. And we've had for the last two segments none other than Mashuda Casmod. And she's been sharing with us her journey, grown up in Lens, and now lives on the Atlantic seaboard, green with NVIM. Most people are. But getting up in the morning, he was talking about modalities. I think, what more modality do you need to do breath work with smelling that fresh sea breeze of the Atlantic Ocean? That
Very
must be
blessed,
just beautiful.
yes, very blessed to live where I live. I mean, as we all know, Cape Town's a lovely city. There's a special energy that's held by the mountain itself, just being close to it. And within 10 minutes to be able to be in nature is something that's very special and something that I'm very grateful for.
Mm. So your store, it's a retail store.
Yeah, it's a full retail store, but it's a sleep experience more than just coming into a retail store and choosing a bed.
So whereabout is the store?
The store is in Greenpoint.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very centrally
So
located.
around the corner from where you
Yeah,
live.
around the corner from where I live. It's not too far away, so within the same district. It's more of an evaluation when you come in because if we really do our job well, Hastings is the type of bed you buy the bed once for the rest of your life.
Mm.
If you buy this bed, you're never going to buy another bed again.
I read something, they said comes with a 25-year warranty.
It comes with a 25-year guarantee on breakage of your springs and your bed frame. So if your springs break, if your bed frame breaks, it's replaced no questions asked. 25 years, if we can guarantee it for 25 years, what we do know is that it can last at least 50 years and beyond. And currently, we have actual data, having been making beds, since 1852. We have over 5,000 couples within the European sort of region that have had their bed for 50 years and more.
Mm.
So that data is already there in terms of the longevity of the product. It's one of those products you buy it once for the rest of your life.
I see many of the leading celebrities are endorsing a Hastings bed. I think recently the Beckhams, David and Victoria Beckham, I think,
Yeah.
also had endorsed it.
Yeah, there are many sort of Hollywood celebrities, as we can say, or football players, because sleep is also fundamental to sport performance. So within the sports fraternity, among the cyclists, among some of the soccer players, Premier League sort of soccer players, and then sort of actors, musicians, I think more and more people are realizing that sleep is fundamental to
And
how
I
you
mean,
live.
yeah, executives, right? I mean, the
And see,
lifestyles that we live and the work life balance that you need to get. I mean, you now, got such a lot of pressures from a work perspective. You come home, and then the rest of the time you need to get that good quality sleep. So I
you
think
know,
on the break you were talking about
Ariana Huffington.
Huffington,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, Ariana Huffington from the Huffington Post. I mean, she herself reached a burnout and collapsed at work. And the background to that was she was sleep deprived. And as a consequence of that, she set up sleep pods at their offices at the Huffington Post so that employees that needed to access a 20-minute power nap now had that available to them. And it's conscious companies like these that are, realizing that sleep, health, it's all interlinked and are making these changes. I mean, even Silicon Valley companies nowadays, there are sort of concepts of power naps and sleep pods within offices there. So, I mean, it's fundamental to how we live. We're not meant to, meant to take a bit of rest during the day. And what happens is, even if you just get on a chair and elevate your legs, you then cause a bit of relaxation. I forget the terminology, but there's a fluid then that drains back towards your heart because gravity affects us the entire day when we are on our legs.
You mentioned this word conscious, conscious company and conscious living. And I think that's what we're saying is that we I think we're reverting back to our traditional values, the traditional modalities, sleep being such an important one amongst others.
Yeah.
And so what you're saying is not just buying a bed.
It's buying a bed that's going to, how is it, from what it stands for, it's natural, the fabrics that go into, we know that when it's summer, we wear cotton, when it's winter, we use wool. So similarly, the bed utilizes those same materials. It's a fact that when we sleep, we perspire. So that's why the horsehair is used in the bed, because horsehair wicks away moisture and perspiration. One can only imagine on a foam bed, night after night of perspiration. It doesn't bode for a very hygienic environment with the molds and spores that can form, because foam by its very nature, petroleum derived, absorbs that perspiration, and after one can cut a foam bed open and see it doesn't look very hygienic
That's interesting.
with the molds and spores. So that alone is its own health challenge. What are you breathing in when you're physically sleeping on that bed that hasn't, fully dried out, that carries your perspiration? I mean, we shed our own skin when we sleep. So it's also the bed hygiene. What is the medium that you're sleeping in? What temperature is it keeping us at? Because one of the important things to fall asleep, our body temperature needs to drop by a little bit, by half a degree to a degree, and that then keeps us up, helps us drop easier into sleep. Now, if you're sleeping on a synthetic product, it absorbs your body heat, and actually raises your body temperature. And that's why we often kick off covers at night, or we get hot and we toss and turn. It's because we're not at the right ambient temperature for sleep. So a cooler
so
room
interesting, eh?
is better than a very heated room, sort of 17 degrees. That's where 17, 18 degrees, that's where you need to be at to aid your sleep. Too hot and
So the electric blankets are not
it's not ideal.
not the
Not
healthiest thing.
ideal, first of all, from the perspective also of having an electrical field surround you. Yes, it's convenient, it keeps you warm, but also from the fact of having an electrical field surround you, the charge that's there, yes, it dissipates, but what's your grounding after getting off the bed that's given you sort of that electrical field, so you also need to balance that. And that's why Hastings is a game changer in the field that they operate in, because there are a handful of companies that are producing beds like that, and they all tend to originate from Scandinavia. One can understand absolutely long, brutal winters. They need to have beds that are comfortable and can support them. And the best beds are made by the Scandinavians worldwide.
Mashuda, you guys are the only agents,
Yeah.
or the sole agents for
Yes,
South Africa.
for South Africa. There's currently a boutique hotel out in Knysna that's fully has all of the rooms with Hastings beds. It's an amazing experience to even just stay at this hotel. It's called Head Over Heels, and they are
That's a
in
nice
Knysna.
name.
Yeah, so I mean, within South Africa, but it's more of a journey when you come in. We need to know your needs and do an analysis on that. Because selling you a bed or will not solve your anxiousness or medical problems. So sometimes we also a sleep consultant land up evaluating those issues.
Yes, there's always deeper issues, right?
There's
like
always
you said, through your
sometimes
own journey.
to the actual reason why we don't sleep well. It's not just my bed is bad. Sometimes it's a multifaceted issue, not just the bed. Bed being one of them.
Yes, and I guess because it's such a niched type of thing, you must be developing that real touch point with your customers, right? Developing relationships with them.
Yeah, most of our clients are, conscious clients, but also clients that want to change their life. There was an incident of a pensioner who initially said, "Oh, the bed's very expensive," but then she saved for 10 months and came back and bought the bed. And she said she felt the value and she felt it was of value to invest in herself. So this is really a product. It's not a bling purchase.
Yeah, because that may
it's
be
you
this,
buying it
yes.
intrinsically because you find value in investing in yourself. So what are you worth, basically?
It's a conscious purchase.
Yes, it's a
although it may come across as bling because it is an expensive. You just mentioned it.
Yes.
What do they? By the way, before we go to the break, we just got a few minutes. Then we'll come back. What do they go for? Where do they start from?
I mean, you starting at around 100,000 rand for a sort of double bed and going up from there. It's because it is not made anywhere else but in Sweden. Same family, 150 plus years of tradition and the craftsmanship, and they pay them Swedish wages and salaries, basically.
Yes. No, great. What we've learned so much, I hope you have, around this whole concept of beds. I mean, who would have thought there's a whole science behind it? And it's just absolutely interesting. Shared by a specialist and has gone through her own journey to get to where she is. We'll, after the break, go to the last segment and let's understand the journey for Mashuda and the Hastings in South Africa moving forward. Catch you after the break. Welcome back to Inspirate Business. And we've had over the last three segments none other than Mashuda Casmod, who has been sharing her journey where she was suffering from insomnia and through her insomnia went to find a solution and ended up in Sweden, finding a company that's been in existence for the last 150 years, Hastings, out of Sweden, traditionally craftsmen, I read something very interesting about Hastings and the founder, who said that he was at a time very, very challenged in the 1800s. It's like what we are right now. Financially, they were going through tough times. And he gave advice to his children, and he said, what you do is you go and learn a craft and you become the best at it. And what great advice. His son went on to become a saddle maker,
Yeah.
and he became the best that he was given an award by the King of Sweden. And obviously, that led then to pivoting into a mattress making through using horsetail, as you said, which is a very
Natural,
natural
moist.
product that
Yeah.
gets you. I mean, we learned so much from what you was sharing with us about how you need to be in a lower temperature when you're sleeping for good sleep.
Yeah.
So it's been absolutely interesting, intriguing conversation with you. Now that we come to the last part of the show, for you personally, for your business, you are Mrs. Hastings, South Africa.
Yeah.
You have a store here in Johannesburg as well.
Yes, there's a store in Kramerville in Sandton.
All right, so that's the major district, right?
Yes, yes, the
Yeah, the
furniture
furniture
district
district. Yeah.
of Johannesburg, Sandton. Yeah, where all the fabric houses and furnishings can be found under sort of within a 2-3 street sort of basis. So we are located there. And,
Yeah, the furniture that we see here is a collective, is also based in Kramerville.
okay, yeah.
Yes.
So you can easily book and call and book a sleep spa or a curiosity session, where
Okay.
you can come in for a sleep spa session and they take you sort of through a little guided journey where we all know it's difficult to go into a retail store and relax on a bed. So there are one or two areas of the store which are slightly more conducive to that, and put a set of headphones on and you just be guided to take you through relaxation and what it actually feels like to experience the bed, so that you can drop deeper into the sensation of what you're feeling.
That must be quite an experience. I mean, I think just from a curiosity perspective, and those that may look at it and say, but like you think a bed is a bed, right?
It's not
And
just a
it's
bed.
not. It's not
Not
that. I
just a
mean, you
bed.
just said some things about with synthetic aspects
Products,
and
yeah.
petroleum. I'm just thinking of all of that, and
Yeah.
and how with the mold that happens, and then you understand why you don't have good breathing, and it impacts you in so many other ways. And in today's world, you, especially executives and business leaders and entrepreneurs, you need to have a sharp mind. And all of this, good sleep helps you to make decisions. I mean, if you think of it, that could be your best investment.
It actually is your best investment in yourself, because you practically spend 1/3 of your life in bed. So, while we might fly business class and that costs us a lot of, could cost us a lot of money, it's only for 13 hours that we do so. It has a little bit of maybe snob value, and you want to reach your destination in comfort. Why then not look at the 1/3 of your life that you spend sleeping? What are you sleeping on? How do you feel when you sleep?
Mm.
um, are you feeling refreshed the next day when you wake up? And if you aren't, then you need to be looking deeper into what's stopping you from having the quality of sleep that you deserve, actually.
Mm. So the journey for for Mashuda going forward, what are the plans for yourself?
No, I mean, we have a Hastings Foundation as well, where, clients that are purchasing beds, or even if you're not purchasing a Hastings bed, you can donate your old bed. The last thing we want to see is beds landing up in landfills and as waste. And even if it's a non-Hastings bed, it can still be recycled, because I've been in many communities that are underprivileged in Cape Town, and sometimes we've donated beds that have been handed over by clients. And for somebody whose bed has been milk crates with cardboard, even a even a normal bed, I mean, it goes a long way to how they feel, how they live their life, how a disabled girl goes to school. These are personal stories I've seen and witnessed. So it's about, how do we be more conscious in terms of what we're disposing of. We always ask clients that are purchasing, do they have a bed to donate? And it's about spreading this message that we can attend to our health, well being, and the general way in which we are living our life by looking at the aspects and going down to something as simple as sleep
Mm.
is one of them. So,
And I
I
mean, in
mean,
our country, with all the social challenges that we face, obviously there's such parities between
this
the
yeah,
or disparity.
haves
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
haves and
yeah,
have
yeah.
nots. Yeah, I mean,
Exactly.
we are a country with huge socio-economic challenges. Um, you know, sleep being one thing, but in my personal capacity, also creating greater awareness, podcasts around sleep, educating. We
So
do
you're doing podcasts
Yes,
around that, yeah.
we're going to be doing some
Okay.
podcasts, but we've got, for corporates, a small program going into a company like Old Mutual, giving them and the employees some give back in terms of how attending to this aspect of their life can have positive benefits for them because HR departments want to see less absenteeism and
Increase productivity.
increase productivity, and
Yes.
that's where sleep does come into that
So it
aspect
affects your
because
bottom line as
it
well, eh?
affects the bottom line for corporates
Mm,
as well.
mm,
And my own capacity, supporting, I'm passionate about supporting women. I'm going to be supporting some women out in a township of Hanover Park, holding a women's circle for them. And just how do they bring more joy into their life through art collage process. So that's my own personal give back to society. Is not specifically business aligned, but it's something that gives me joy. And how do I transmit that joy to others?
mm. So, I mean, Hastings in South Africa is what, about 4 years now and going? I mean,
For maybe 12 years.
12 years. So it
Yeah,
was
12,
2010.
10.
10. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
All
we're
right. 12 years.
13, year
And
13.
with the advent of COVID, how has that affected you?
I think it took COVID for many people to realize that there's no time like the present to focus on health and wellness. I've lived in the Atlantic seaboard for many number of years, and during the COVID time, and what I've seen immediately and currently post COVID is there's never been as many people walking, running, cycling,
That's all the
and
positives, eh?
yes, and cold water immersing than I've
Ah,
seen in the last 3 years. So the
mm,
benefits of what that does for you. And it's all shapes, all sizes, all nationalities. That promenade really is filled with people taking back a charge of their own health
mm.
and well-being. And it's amazing to see.
Yeah, maybe that's been the lesson from COVID, is that also going back to basics, right?
Yeah, it
Going back
has
to
been.
your core, going back to the earth.
Yeah.
Hmm?
I mean, even simple things like sitting on some beach sand or even some earth, because we do absorb some minerals from that earth, and our bodies are composed of that, and that's where we return to.
Mm.
So there is some benefit to be taken from the minerals when we sit on the earth and connect with and ground ourselves as well.
Mm.
And I think that is a way in which we can actually. I think some of those stresses and financial issues might recede a little bit when you just sit in stillness for a little while as well.
And you just get that clarity. I think the idea is when you're in a better state of being,
Yes.
then you attract better states. When you're
Yeah.
in a negative state, I mean, you just think of it, you're going to
Yes.
be pushing out negativity.
Yeah.
And then you kind of push out a lot of opportunities as well. You block
Yeah.
yourself from what Allah has bestowed for
Yeah,
you.
I mean, playing into negativity then brings in the frequency of negativity, and
Mm,
you then attract that.
mm.
So I think
Yeah, so we have a few minutes left as we wind down this amazing hour that we spent. Mashuda, messages for our viewers, some points that they can remember you for, and there's these sit on our YouTube channel, on Hilaal's YouTube channel, and the Inspirate Business YouTube channel, and somebody can always reference it. What would be some of the pearls of wisdom that you've experienced over the years that you can
yeah,
share with the
I
viewers?
would say look at how what is your wind down procedure before sleeping. Prep yourself in terms of creating more relaxation for yourself. So decrease your activity. Have a warm bath, cut down your device usage before sleep, and also try and have your main meal time with a good few hours gap so that digestion has taken place.
Mm.
And that doesn't necessarily keep you up at night, you
So,
know.
so no more snacking on the bed.
Yeah, try and avoid that, you know. And,
Yeah.
also use natural fabrics and linens like cottons to keep you cool. So, you also look at the fabrics that you're surrounding your body with. So
Mm.
it bodes well for having that
Do
longer
you guys
quality
also
sleep.
offer the other
Yeah, we have
ancillary
the
equipment?
accessories such as ghost down, sheeting,
Okay.
duvet covers, inners, and all of the
Pillows as
complementary,
well?
yes, pillows as well, all the
Okay.
complementary products that go with getting you to sleep well.
All right, we've come to the end of the show. Thank you so much to Mashuda Casmod from Heston's. This brand, I hope you would be as curious as I am now to go and visit a Hastings store. Go and, what did you say? Go and get the experience, the sleep
Yes, the sleep
experience.
spa experience.
Yeah, the sleep spa experience, either at their store in Greenpoint in Cape Town or at Kramerville in Johannesburg. Thank you so much,
Thank
and
you.
it has been an absolute pleasure to have you. We hope to see you on many other shows. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.